United Workers' Party, this and every Thursday on Rev Up St. Lucia 97.1 FM for an educational and informative program, Meet the Opposition. Participate in exciting discussions from 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. Be in the know every Thursday on Rev Up St. Lucia 97.1 from 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m.
And without further ado, let's say welcome to the host of Meet the Opposition, Ms. Nancy Charles.
Good morning, St. Lucia. Good morning, Andrew. How are you doing this morning?
I'm very well. How about you?
I'm doing well. I'm pretty good. I'm in good spirits. I am in good health, I hope.
Knock on wood.
Because you have to knock on wood because you never know what's going on inside that body. True, but I'm very grateful to God to be alive for another day and to speak to you, our listeners and our viewers who are on 97.1 FM radio and who are also watching us on social media. Let me say a special good morning to the folks in the diaspora. A lot of them, they tune in at 9 o'clock on the money. They were already tuning, waiting for another episode of Meet the Opposition. I also want to say a special thank you as well, Andre, to a lot of persons after the show. I do get quite a bit of calls, very surprising, from people I don't know. They find my number. I don't know I've given my number on the air, but they find my number. They call me to say that I am doing a good job. They like the fact that I come on the show with facts and with substance, and it's not a propaganda show with lies and things like that. So people enjoy listening. Of course, some people do give me additional information, sometimes things I don't even know about. They give to me, they send me text messages and WhatsApp messages as well. So thank you so much for your support and your encouragement. I do appreciate the calls and the messages, and also the messages on social media as well. So I think, Andre, that Meet the Opposition is already gaining traction. It's been talked about by people in the highest corridors of government. So it means that some people also are listening. Some people who think are not listening, Andre, they are. But I am very happy that they are. And I am very grateful that to date, Andrew, we've not had any substantive scandal in terms of people saying you actually gave wrong information, except for last week we had a call, and I will deal with that today. But I am also very grateful that I try as much as possible to do my research. Like I said, I try always to get it right, but when I don't get it right and I am corrected, I do stand corrected. I am big enough to stand corrected. So thank you so much. I do want to also say to you, those of you who are watching and who are listening, if you can share the live stream, I would appreciate it. So you can just go on share, and it says when you click on share, there's a little icon that says copy the link. You can copy the link. So as I'm speaking now, you can do that now. Copy the link, and you can share it via WhatsApp to your friends. You can send it as a broadcast message. You can also share it on your social media page as well, so persons can follow. What we want is we want to encourage more persons to follow and to listen into the program so that we can educate St. Lucians on the many issues that are affecting us and that are impacting us. I have a guest this morning, but before I introduce my guest, I would like to get into our little encouragement for the morning, Andre.
Of course.
And as I was driving up, I think my thoughts were on the issue of having patience and waiting. And why I chose that, because I think driving up the road over the last couple of weeks, and I have admitted that at times I tend to be a fast driver on the road, but I am also very cautious in my driving. I am very cautious that I do not overtake in corners and in bad spots. If I see there's traffic, I slow down, etc. And then I see a lot of people, it's like I'm thinking, wow, why you want to overtake there, and why are you so much in a hurry? Just take it easy. And it brought to mind the issue of patience. And I remember in the Bible, there was a young man called David. And at that time, the procession for selecting a new king had come. And then the prophet was told to go to the house of Jesse, and that is where the new king will come from. And then when, of course, a lot of us know the story, but when the prophet went and he met all the sons of Jesse, and the Spirit of God kept telling him, no, that's not the one, that's not the one. They asked him, well, is there anyone? And he said, yeah, my little boy, he's out in the field, his name is David, etc. They brought him in, and when he came, little boy, cute and curly hair, etc. and so forth, he looks like my David, you know. But he was the one who was appointed to be king. But the funny thing about it, Andre, is, are you aware that it took several years? Whilst he was anointed, the prophet anointed him, he was, anointed to be the king. He did not get the kingship right away. He went through a lot of difficulties and challenges in his life. With even the king himself, the current king, who was King Saul, attempted to kill him several times. Even after that, he had the fight with Goliath. He started living with the king. He used to play to calm him, etc. And then he had to run for his life. He lived in the mountains for several years, etc., 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 before he could become king. And I'm saying all of that to you, St. Lucia, to remind you.
You forgot the most important part.
Which one was that?
Well, he was in the cave. Okay, and he was in the cave living like an animal there.
Yep.
And he had two opportunities
to kill the king, and he never did.
And in fact, the second time, his servant said to him, let me do it for you.
Yep. And he said that he's not going to touch the anointed of the Lord. Because whilst he knew he was supposed to be king, he also recognized that Saul was still the king, and that in due time, he would become whatever it is God had promised. So what I'm saying to you, St. Lucia, is to have a little patience wherever it is that you are, because in due time, whatever it is that God has spoken over your life, whatever it is that you are supposed to accomplish, whatever it is that you are supposed to achieve, maybe it is that promotion at work, maybe it is going deeper or further in your relationship with your partner or your spouse, maybe it is a relationship that needs to be mended with a family member, a close friend, maybe a child, or whatever it is that you've been waiting for. Maybe you've been waiting for that little raise at work, that extra money. Some of us, some people I know are waiting for the minimum wage, Andre, because they've seen it. And some people don't even make $1,100 a month. So whatever it is that you are waiting for, I want you to remember David and the process that he had to go through, the difficulties he had. It wasn't easy, St. Lucia. It was challenging. Like Andre said to you, he was living like an animal in caves. He was constantly running for his life. He was scared. Don't think he wasn't afraid. Maybe he had that hope in him. That's what kept him alive. So this morning, have that hope inside of you. Allow that to keep you alive and keep you going, but also exercise patience, because it's one thing that I have learned. Nothing happens before its time. And my grandmother always used to say something in Creole. She used to say, Saki lapu lo vie pa shaye. Meaning whatever it is that is there for you, even if the river overflows its banks, it will not carry it away, because it is there for you. It was meant for you, and nothing, absolutely nothing can change that. So my encouragement to you this morning is to exercise a little patience, wait upon God, wait upon the word that has been spoken to you, the belief that you have and the faith that you have, and in due course you will be rewarded. Nancy, I hope that's a good encouragement for you this morning.
Word and powerful encouragement. I hope a lot of our politicians are listening, because I think that's one of the major problems that a lot of our politicians have, especially when they in opposition, right? They tend to do underhanded things because they can't wait to get back in power. They'll do almost anything, malign you, right? Say whatever it is that they want to say, do what they want to do all kinds of things just to ensure that they can get back in there within the 5 years that you see
and that is why, again, we're having this show. And that is why I think St. Lucians who have reached out to me continue to say that the United Workers' Party in general need to keep up what it is that they've been doing. Because the last 3 years, we have been bringing out the issues at the forefront of St. Lucia. And we have tried very hard. We're not perfect at it, Andrew, because we're politicians. Sometimes we slip and we slide. But we have tried very hard as a political organization to ensure that we keep the discussion within the remits of what is happening in the country. If the policy is bad for the country, we'll tell you it is bad. We will not go into the personalities and give mepui about the Prime Minister or about a particular minister of government. If some of them are traitors, I will say they are traitors because Stephen King is a traitor, but that's not a maybe, that's a fact. And we can substantiate that, but these are some of the things I think the United Workers' Party is trying as much as possible, is to be different and to do different. We do not want to do like the Labour Party, and that's why they're struggling today, Andre. That's why they have the challenges that they have today, because when they were in opposition, they went after Guy Joseph, his reputation. They went after Nancy Charles, her reputation. They went after Alan Chasney, his reputation. They went after Dominic Fedee. They went after every single parliamentarian and even persons outside of parliament who were within the remits of UWP. They try to stick things on you. The Thursday night show that used to happen, that continues to happen. Every week was a document, a paper, a this, a that, about people saying things about people, causing people to think ill of others. I mean, they accuse the government of being corrupt, the most corrupt government ever. 3 years into government, Andre, this government has not been able to produce one piece of paper to show or to substantiate the corruption that they had accused the Alan Chasney government of. And I want to remind you of that, St. Lucia. This United Workers' Party, we will not tell you that these people are corrupt if we do not have evidence. And I have shown you the evidence. I have come with my documents, my information to show you this is what I think is wrong, this is what is written, and this is what is happening in our country. So the United Workers' Party is going to be different. We plan to be different. We are going to run a campaign on policies, on issues, on St. Lucia, on how do we better our country. That is what we are there for. And that is the reason I have brought with me today my guest, who is the senator. He was the former parliamentary representative for Ancillary Canneries. Of course, he's going to win back the seat because everybody in Ancillary is missing him now. You heard the new Calypso. Now they're missing Shaz. It's not only Shaz they're missing, Andre. Now they're missing Dominic. Now they're missing Herod. Now they're missing Spider. Let me tell you, the kind of people that does call Dominic, and he'll tell you about it. He knows that, I'm not saying anything that's not true. The people, when he goes into the constitution, boy, if you were there, that would not happen, etc., etc. They are missing the United Workers' Party because what they thought was this is not that. So I have with me one of the deputy political leaders of the United Workers' Party. He's also a senator and my very, very good friend. He is the proud daddy, should I say that? He's the proud daddy of a baby girl. You have a new baby girl.
Beautiful baby
girl.
Oh
my God! You see,
I am Google Gaga right now.
Welcome,
just go,
welcome.
Oh. You've been busy. You've been busy.
I've been in love. I've been in love.
I guess that's one of the advantages of being the opposition.
Yep. You have
time
Good
now.
to be here, Nancy.
Yes.
Good to be here.
Thank
Good
you
to be
so
here,
much.
Andre. I was very jealous that you guys didn't invite me into the devotion. But it's one of my one of my favorite passages in the Bible.
Right.
And the lesson from David, even though he found Saul in the cave, and he had the upper hand, but refused to touch the Lord's anointing, and in fact, he had one of the servants who suggested to him that he should have taken a chance. He had him killed.
Mm-hmm. Yes, he did.
Because he said, "Look, I don't want this kind of attitude
around me."
because and it speaks to authority. It speaks to us obeying the chain of command. And even though Saul was a terrible boss, David still honored him unto the Lord. And that's a powerful lesson that a lot of people don't get when they deal with their bosses and so on. You have to be careful. David did not utter a bad word about Saul. So, yeah.
Powerful.
So, last time you were here, Senator Fedee, we started an extensive discussion
on the budget.
Andre, let me tell you something. Every week it's amazing. Every single week you would think that you would be able to continue the conversation on a particular issue because it is so bad. But by the time the following week arrives, something else pops up that is even worse.
I know.
And then something else. I mean, it's continuous. It feels like, like when you're in a bad relationship and every week something is a row, every week is a drama, every week, and you feel like, I can't take it anymore. That's what I think it feels like because yesterday I was listening to a particular radio station, and then there was an announcement about general elections. And I think everybody was kind of, finally, breathing a sigh of relief, because people really thought it was going to be general elections in St. Lucia. And that said a lot to me, because it meant that people were at a level that they were so frustrated that they can't wait for general elections to be called in St. Lucia so they can vote out this current Labour administration, because people can't take it anymore. But unfortunately for us, St. Lucia, we still have a little way to go. I pray to God that this government is going to do the right thing and say, you know what, let's allow the people to, to put in a new administration. But selfish as they are, I don't think they are going to do it. But it is the general elections in the UK.
Yes, July
it's
4th.
going to be the 4th of July. And so the British people are going to select a new government. And as you can see, I think there's also a level of frustration with the British people. They've had the Conservative government for the last, 15 years? And
since David Cameron.
Yep,
yeah,
it's about 15 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they've had this government for 15 years. And I think most of the polls are showing that this new administration is going to come in and that the Conservatives are going to be out. A lot can happen.
20% they're ahead in the polls.
Yes,
that's
a lot can happen.
Massive number.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I think it's maybe even worse in St. Lucia. So I think we really need to get somebody to conduct a poll to see how badly this government is doing. And maybe then and only then they'll get the picture, because they are burying their head in the sand.
Yeah. And which is why I like to go to the supermarkets. I go to supermarkets, I go to the Castries market, because I want to see people's reaction. And I think that's the poll.
Yep.
And when you hear people's reaction about the cost of living in this country, I mean, I've seen people pick up certain groceries and they go, mama.
Samute, you know what they say in Creole? Samute ako, meaning like the prices just went up again.
Crazy.
You know, it still continues to rise.
It continues to rise, Andre. And that's why I will never support the subsidies that the government allowed to go up on gas, on LPG cooking gas, and all of those things. And people are just finding it very, very, very tough. You know, I watched the nation's reaction to this minimum wage thing. And I'm not going to say much about it, because the opposition was not consulted on the minimum wage.
That's very unfortunate.
Very
as well,
unfortunate.
Because
when you hear people's comments, you hear a lot of people say, but things are already so expensive. Now, there's a proposal on the table for $6.50, which is about $1,100 a month.
Yeah.
$1,100 a month. If the minimum wage gets to, if it is approved at that level, it is very difficult for people to survive on that.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, Andre, it's really, really tough. By the time you put gas in the car, if you have a car.
Well, that's
it's $200. A tank is $200 to full now. And it's really, really tough. So sorry for segueing there.
Yeah, but this morning, yes, it's tough. Things are difficult in this country, and I think the government continues to bury its head in the sand. We saw this little quote-unquote meme that came out where the Prime Minister was saying this is not a country in mayhem, and he even forgot himself and said certain things that I do not wish to repeat on this radio station, and made a fool of himself again. But at the end of the day, there's so many serious issues confronting us in this country. I don't know that one show or two shows will be sufficient, but we will try every Thursday, to continue to speak about this. But I think the biggest thing, before we go into maybe the substance of some of the things we want to talk about, over the last couple of days, maybe the last 2 weeks, Senator Fedee, we've been hearing about water.
Oh my God.
The complaints about water. Andre, do you have water in your pipes right now?
So far.
Okay.
Yes.
Where do you live, Andre?
Leclerc.
So you're in the north, and you get fed from the John Compton Dam.
Correct.
Right.
Which is about 55 to 60% of the population getting supplied from Millet to the Grosley area. Andre, I am here and I'm thinking to myself, I haven't had water at my house in River Meta. It came back night before, and we had it for 2 hours. But prior to the 2 hours, my neighbors and I had to ration. We limited how we flush the toilets. We didn't wash our cars. We conserved on the amount of cups that we use. Tried
and
to
imagine
reuse
you
the
have
glasses.
a new baby in the house as well.
Have a new baby in
and
the
you
house.
need to wash and clean.
And you need to wash and clean. And, when I walk around, because people know I'm a senator, I mean, the complaints you get from people. We haven't had water consistently for 3 weeks. You've got people who live in Moshi, people who live in Kaimajé, people who live in the town of Grosley, in Kappa State. Oh my God, it's terrible. I don't even want to get to Kappa State. And what we have had, Andre, is a national crisis in the country. And I'm here thinking, because in the last cabinet, I recalled how much water was a priority. You remember that, Nancy?
Water was a huge priority.
Water was a
in the
huge
last
priority,
cabinet.
Andre, because we understood that, the cliche thing in the Wasco ad that say water is life. We thought that we had to live that. That had to be our credo. We had to make sure that every community in St. Lucia had the basic necessity called water. Because if communities don't have water, then people cannot survive. I'm not even going to get to businesses.
Yeah.
I'm not even talking. I'm
Yeah.
just talking about living. I mean, the dry season has been so horrendous. You've had a lot of people who've suffered from dehydration. You've had people who have passed out because of the sunshine.
The heat.
The heat has just been unbearable, and now people don't have water in their homes. I mean, thank God, myself and some of my neighbors, we have tanks. But what about those neighbors of mine that don't have tanks? What do they do? How do they survive? A couple of bottles under the cupboard? That's only a day's supply.
It
Some
doesn't
people-
work. It doesn't work.
Yeah, it's a real crisis that Wasco, unfortunately, yes, it's a difficult situation, but they have mismanaged this crisis, and they have not made this situation a priority. Look, I was talking to the board members of the former Wasco board,
Right.
and I said, "What's the status quo?" And Andre, I recall that the Labour Party was actually collecting a dredging fee before we came into
A long
government.
time.
They were
In fact, a
collecting
long
this
time
monies,
they
but they
put
were
in
not
that
dredging
fee. Right.
the John Compton Dam. And one of the first meetings we had in our cabinet, Nancy would recall because she was director of implementation, was a presentation from Wasco
That's correct.
to figure out where are we going with the water situation in all of these communities. There were a couple of projects in the pipeline. I will not be political here today, but the majority of the projects, and we have about 11 or 13 on a list that we will go through, Nancy and I, bit by bit, that we did. But I want to focus on the main one, which is the John Compton Dam. And what we did, Andre, we moved with aggression, mobilized financing from the Caribbean Development Bank. We got the financing at concessionary terms. We had a very good board that was headed by a gentleman who came from the banks, Mr. Francis Dembo, who was, to me, a very, very progressive chairman. And under him, what happened at Wasco, and with the direction and support from the cabinet, is that they implemented a whole host of these projects. But most importantly, they did what the Labour Party was talking about for 5 years. And that is they went and they started phase 1 of the dredging of the dam. The dam, Andre, I'm reliably informed, had accumulated some 1.5 million gallons of silt, 1.5 cubic meters of silt, right? 1.5 million. This came about because of weather systems from mainly 3 important weather events, from Hurricane Tropical Storm Debbie, the Christmas Eve trough of 2013, and don't forget Hurricane Tomas in 2010, and the havoc that wreaked. And all of this put tremendous silt into the area. Plus, you've had heavy rainfalls throughout the year. So I have been asked to tell your viewers to imagine, I want to make sure I quote it, 50 football fields piled high with 20 feet of silt.
Wow.
Is the amount of silt that was in the dam. Yeah? 50 football fields piled high with 20 feet of silt. That's what we met. Now, could you imagine had we not dredged the dam?
Had we not
What?
even started the process? Because remember, when we came in, when the new administration came in, the dredging process had started, and I think they stopped it initially. They were complaining about the cost of the equipment, the cost of the dryer, and they looked for all kinds of nitty-gritty, etc. Instead of continuing with the process, they stopped it, and that is one of the problems, Senator Fedee, I think that we continue to have in this country. And to a certain extent, the United Workers' Party has also made a commitment to say when we come into office, if there are projects that are to the benefit of the country, whilst we may have issues with those projects, we are not going to just stop projects all of a sudden, but we will do the continuation to ensure that the projects continue in the interest of the country while we do our fact-finding, what is going on, the costings, and whatever issues and concerns that we may have. And that's one of the issues with the John Compton Dam, that process was stopped. I even think the contractor was changed as well, and so forth. So, St. Lucia, we are experiencing this crisis because at the end of the day, political vindictiveness, pettiness, lack of leadership. I mean, I am not going to knock on the current manager of is it the manager or the CEO, whatever the title
Nancy,
is.
I'm sorry. When a company is failing, if Andre is in charge of this radio station,
that's right,
and this radio station fails,
Andre is responsible.
Andre is responsible.
So all I'm saying is, again, and these are some of the things, Senator Fedee, I think that happens, because I was thinking about this morning. These are some of the things, and I'm going to probably have an entire show dedicated towards what's happening within the public service and the polarization of the public service. But the young lady who's the CEO of Wasco, are you aware that she was the representative of the Labour Party on the Electoral Commission?
Always.
During the last. So we know for sure she's a representative of the Labour Party. I think she's also the wife of somebody who's very prominent within the administration as well.
No, her father was a former minister of communication and works.
Right, no, but she is also the wife of somebody prominent within the administration as well.
Right. So
very much so. And so you asked the question, because I heard somebody call, and I don't know if that is true, but I heard somebody call and said she was the customer service representative at Wasco.
Correct.
And then to move from customer service representative, I don't know that the position was advertised. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. We haven't seen it. And then for that person to have now been promoted to be the CEO and the manager, is this the best person suited for the job?
Correct.
Is she the best person who's qualified in moving?
Correct.
Because Wasco has not been
it's
a problem
yesterday.
yesterday.
It's a very complex organization.
Exactly.
And you
so
can't
you need somebody
just put
who's very
anybody to
technical.
manage a
So it
complex
can't be a
situation.
political position.
Yeah.
So,
and you know, Andre, before we even and Nancy spoke of leadership, and this provoked a thought. You remember, Nancy, when Wasco came with a presentation to our cabinet, and that's why I will always support Alan Chasney, tremendous leader. And Alan Chasney said, look, have you all explored the option of desalination plants?
He
said we are an island surrounded by water.
That's correct.
The technology of producing water has evolved. Have you considered desalination plants, whereby you extract water from the sea that could be used maybe for pools in hotels, for the grounds in hotels, so that you augment your supply of water? Because I know a lot of Lucians don't like desal water when you go to other countries like Antigua.
Yeah, they don't like it.
All of this was considered, Andre, a holistic, our culture of consumption of water. The resources around us, the fact that our watersheds were not managed over the years properly, and there was a tremendous amount of deforestation which took place because of agriculture, the drying up of our ravines and rivers, and the reduction of a big flow into some of these ravines and rivers, hence now reducing the capacity of some of these water catchments. This is a problem that happened up in Saltibus. And Wasco, for example, then came in and rectified that situation with additional infrastructure, millions of gallons of storage tanks to help the people of Saltibus to ameliorate that situation. But coming back to leadership, Alan Chasney said, have you considered go back and do your findings, do your research, and bring to cabinet several options,
but
so that we can have a proper information to make the best decision.
But
so we didn't just go into the silting.
In addition to that, I think the initial cost of what they had brought to cabinet And that is why it took a little time for the desilting, if I recall. The initial proposal that they had, and the amount of silt that they were looking at to remove from the dam, that's when the political leader said to them, listen, if we are going to make an investment into this thing, let us make an investment that is on a longer term. Maybe the government can guarantee Wasco, because Wasco was looking to take that loan on its own, remember?
Correct.
And then maybe the government can guarantee Wasco the money so that you can get more money to be able to dredge more silt out of the dam so you have access to more water. So the vision of Alan Chasney is not only doing things in T-boutique mentality, little bits and pieces, but he was saying, let's try and go all the way, or let's go further than that so that you can have more long-term goal. And that's why I know Labour Party was complaining and said they have not started the dredging, they keep talking about it, but the delay was because the administration at the time wanted Wasco to have available to them more resources so that they could have dredged out more silt, like you indicated.
Can I ask a question?
And I want to talk about the desilting. And the desilting happened, Andre, in the most transparent manner because the funding came from the Caribbean Development Bank, and everything went out to international bidding. Yeah. Right? And as a result, the best companies were selected for one aspect, which is the desedimentation area, which is when you flush out the silt from the dam, you had to put the mud and the fallen trees and the stones into an area, which is called the desedimentation area. And then now, we actually went ahead and did the first phase of the desilting. It's been 3 years that this administration have not. Now, when Wasco recognized that it cost them millions to desilt part of this big 1.5 million cubic meters of silt, they then said, look, it would make sense for us to spend 2.5 million US and buy our own dredge so that we can consistently maintain
the dredging
the facility. This administration came in with the new board, and to Nancy's point, instead of continuing the process, they did absolutely no dredging. Not one cubic meter of silt was removed from the dam in 3 years, Andre. And we have had very heavy rains in the wet season, right? And when you don't do that, you cause a pile-up and a pile-up. Now, if you continue to remove the silt, you increase the storage capacity of the dam. And by increasing the storage capacity of the dam, you would have been now able to compensate for the evaporation of water that's taking place now in the dry season.
But let me ask you a
because we
question,
had the same
Senator
situation to deal with in 2020. We had one of the most horrendous droughts and dry seasons to deal with. And so
Wasco announced a water crisis a couple of days ago. But even prior to that, we've had the complaints about Wasco. Have we heard anything
from the government?
From the government or the minister responsible for Wasco? Right now, I think is Stevenson King. Have we heard anything? Well, I like.
The only thing I've heard is let's raise the price on the people.
Yeah, I was about to say that. But have you heard
said, I think his statement was, I think it costs more.
We spend money on bears and drinks and whatever, so we might as well be able to spend the same amount of money on raising the price of water. But have you heard anything from Wasco in terms of, we are projecting or we are predicting, because this is not surprising. We have a dry season in St. Lucia. We know that. It comes every year.
Andre, you've been a media man.
From them?
I'm a junior to you. You're a veteran in this business. Now, when I came into media, Nancy, Andrew was probably there about 20 years already.
Oh, wow.
Right? And that's 25 years ago.
Are you trying to insinuate that Andre is that
No, Andre looks damn good for his age. But here is the thing. Andre will recall, when I was in the press together with him 25 years ago, there was something called the El Nino phenomenon. Do you remember that?
Correct.
And these were, the signs were already there that it was global warming, hotter climates, ocean levels were rising. This is old stuff. So why would an institution of government allow a weather event that is in keeping with the times to surprise it? That's why I tell you, I make no excuses for Wasco. It is a lack of leadership, it is a lack of foresight, and it is a lack of forward planning why we are in this crisis that we are now.
So let's talk about some of the projects, because we're running out of time. and we have some other things to speak about. Our program is not on water today, St. Lucia, but you see, like I say to you, the crises are coming in fast and furious, that sometimes you speak about one and you're not able to complete, and you have to go to another. But I heard, and I went back and I reviewed the Prime Minister's speech about the year of infrastructure. And of course, we've been traditionally known what infrastructure means, and WASCO has been part of our infrastructure, our water infrastructure. But the meaning of infrastructure has now changed, because the Prime Minister has said that we're changing the meaning of infrastructure to include all these things. Did you see anything, in case I may have missed it, Senator Fedee, in the Prime Minister's budget address under the year of infrastructure and the many projects that he spoke about with reference to infrastructure? Water is life. We keep saying and speaking to the importance of water. Did you see anything? And I did not have time to go back to listen to Minister King's speech because I wanted to, but I will try to, St. Lucia, to see if I missed anything. Did you hear anything from either the Minister or the Prime Minister with reference to our water infrastructure, and what is it that we are going to continue to do to ensure that we can supply the country with water? Because outside of the Alan Chasney administration, which I know we have listed, we just wanted to remind you, St. Lucia, because I see people under the live are saying, what did you all do about water? So
that's a very good
Peter
question.
Thomas, and to some of you who are asking, what did we do about water? We came prepared, because we can list more than enough, but we'll just do a few of them. But we came prepared to tell you some of the projects or the water initiatives undertaken by the previous UWP administration. And in the same vein, I want you to tell me in the last 3 years which water projects has been initiated by this government. So, Senator Fedee, let's go briefly through some of the water projects that were initiated by the previous administration.
Wow. So I have a list of 13 water projects here. So we have the Salty Bus water project, the Canaries water project. I remember this very, very well. When I was the MP for that area, and the money came from the CDB as well, and there were water shortages in Canaries consistently. And I remember the former minister having a word with me and said that he'll send Wasco to do an assessment, and then bam, within 18 months it was up. Hill 20 in Babonneau, the water supply project. We have La Bonne in Groselet. This is one of the last communities in St. Lucia to have received water.
Yep. And Spider was very proud of that.
And he was very proud of that. If you speak to our PRO, when he served in the former UWP cabinet of 2006 to 2011, he brought water to La Bonne. But there had not been much maintenance to that facility which he instructed, so there needed to be some upgrading and some additional infrastructure which was put up. The Dennery North Water Supply Project, I remember this was a project in the pipeline from the Kenny Anthony administration, but again, like everything else, they talk, they make announcements, they do sort turning ceremony, but they don't implement, Andre. And so we came in and we implemented this project. And I love the fact that we brought Sean Edwards.
We did.
To come and cut the ribbon.
Yes.
It's not like what's happening with the minimum wage today, where the opposition is not included. When we were dealing with COVID, we always make sure that the leader of the opposition had a seat.
They were
he was
invited.
Part of
they
NEMAC.
were part
he
of
was
the
invited.
discussions.
Be there. And so when you're going through a crisis such as this one, it shouldn't take the opposition to write you a letter. You need to come and to say, let us now set up a bipartisan approach to dealing with one of the worst crises that we have seen in the history of our country. Put the politics aside, for Christ's sake. One of the reasons why we're in this problem is that the government, and Nancy was asking if there were any mention of water projects. Now, it would not be very pronounced in any statements surrounding the year of infrastructure, because both the minister responsible for water, Stephenson King, and the Prime Minister are obsessed with using their time in Parliament to express mépris and utter mépris and political diatribe against Alan Chasney.
I mean, can you imagine?
And we have this problem in our hands.
Yep.
This is not surprising. Now we have a water emergency, Andre. We are in the same sentence of some of these African countries.
You can't wash your car
in this day and age. I I thought that we had bypassed all of these basic problems of nation building a long time ago, right? And now we can focus on more important issue. This is basic. So I don't care what people are saying that they're sorry for Wasco. I am not, right? This is a lack of focus, a lack of planning, a lack of... Now, just imagine in 5 years, right? Dennery North, the Belvedere to Buta water project. And
I
you know
remember
Buta?
that project with Herod.
That's right.
We had a bit of a challenge, especially in acquiring the land where it is they wanted to put the tank. I was part of the discussions in terms of that land. So, and a lot of these projects were very
Don't
challenging.
forget the Mikud water supply project, and again the creme of all of them being the John Compton Dam. So that's a lot of work, Nancy.
Well, you've forgotten the biggest one. The biggest project would be the Vieux Fort water supply redevelopment project,
Both in Vieux Fort North and the
North and South. So
Yes.
it's right down in Beauséjour, and you had the expansion of the tanks up in Grace. And I remember, Andrew, whenever there was a little drizzle, Grace people will tell you, Vieux Fort people, we didn't have water. As soon as it drizzled, there was no water. Right now, you can see the water is over the bridge, and we have water. And again, that is the vision of the Alan Chastney administration. Of course, this was a project initiated by the previous administration, but they never started it. They spoke about it. I think they started.
And Musa has been the MP for that area for how many years?
Over 25 years.
25 years.
So,
and you can't fix a basic problem, and your government has been in charge of the country for 15
whilst Andre and you probably are complaining about water, and whilst we may have a water emergency, I can certainly say that most of the communities from the south, and we really want to thank Alan Chastney for ensuring the implementation of that project. Most of the communities from the south do not have that water problem, and that is because of the vision of ensuring that the project was done, that we had the expansion of those water tanks, etc. And so a lot of the places like the Bury, for example, when we had water crisis in the past, the Bury could not produce, and you know that's one of the premier manufacturers in St. Lucia. And so all these issues were taken into consideration, and the vision Alan Chastney also had for the development of the South, I think all of these were what spurred him to ensure that we had that water project in the South. So St. Lucia, the United Workers' Party did a lot of stuff with water. Did we do enough? Perhaps not. But we did as much as we could have, and I think the most important thing is that we started the process of desilting and dredging the John Compton Dam to ensure that you could have had more water storage. This Labour Party administration came in, they stopped it, they made complaints about who the contractor was, they made allegations about the equipment that were purchased, they said that the equipment not good. Up to a day like today, you telling me that the equipment, let's say the equipment had broken down, Andre. You telling me 3 years later you cannot get the equipment repaired? You cannot fix it? And if you cannot fix it and it's irreparable and you want to say the Alan Chastney administration bought bad equipment, well, buy a new one. Yeah. Because it is important. We say water is life. But again, I'm just telling you, these things are just petty politics. So you put your people in big position to make money at Wasco, and nothing is happening for the people of this country in ensuring that we can get pipe-borne water in 2024 in our pipes in St. Lucia.
But you know how is that possible? I mean, look, go back to that and the board of the current board of Wasco. I want to say to them that when you are appointed on a board of a statutory body, you're appointed to serve the people of the country.
That's right.
You are not appointed to look for political mischief. And they have been so focused on it rather than
fixing the problem and
fixing the problem
yes.
that we've got. Now, the consultant for the dam dredging project was appointed by the previous administration, the Kenny Anthony administration. The CEO of the NERC, which is the institution that regulates the utilities of this country, was now a Labour Party government senator in Alison Jean, okay, who had to then approve, Andre, all of the certificates for payments. So how is it possible that while you're there, you approve all of the payments, and you're talking about the CDB. The CDB is the center of bureaucracy in the Caribbean.
But let me say something.
Their requirements are so tight. When all you do is you take a loan from the CDB, and when you are governing a CDB project, you have absolutely no control of the project. And the CDB have their consultants managing, monitoring the situation at every given step and every given time. So this is impossible when people say stuff like that.
Boy, I'll tell you something, Andre, and St. Lucia. When you look at Wasco, this is a typical example, and we can talk about St. Jude's as well and some other projects, but today we're focusing on Wasco. This is a typical example of what you should never ever do when you come in as a new incoming government. Because at the end of the day, when you play these political games, the people of St. Lucia suffer. And that's why the people of St. Lucia are suffering. In 5 years the UWP was in government, did we ever have a water emergency?
No.
And did we not have droughts just the same?
Yes.
Wasn't the sun hot just the same?
Yes.
I mean, maybe it's a little hotter now, etc. But we had droughts, the sun was hot, and we never had a water crisis. We never had to call a water crisis and a water emergency. And let's look at this. I think a couple of months ago, Wasco had, remember they had a project to replace leaking pipes because they said they were losing a lot of water with the leaking pipes, and so we didn't have water, I think, up north for a couple of days, or how many days. They shut down the water to change the pipes, etc., etc. You all remember that? Didn't they say that this was going to allow for them to retain as much water as possible so they wouldn't be losing water? So why we have a water crisis now?
There you go. And and in speaking to the former board of Wasco, I can tell you, Andre, that we had the same problem with non-commercial water, right? A lot of water leaking. The current dispensation says that they are losing 55% of revenue water. That is, so 55% of their production is non-revenue water. So just imagine, you're producing stuff, spending a lot of money to produce it, but you're losing it, right? So this is a disaster for that organization. However, we had those problems as well. And what happened is we had a very aggressive replacement of pipelines. I mean, one of the last ones we did was where the 4-lane highway is going up the Rodney Bay Road.
Yep,
so we did it from the Monjiro Gap, and the people in the north of the island would know, going all the way to Key Largo Gap, which is called the Larry Tret Road. And by doing that, we were able to reduce a lot of the non-commercial water that Wasco was being used. I think we brought it down to about 35%. This administration has allowed the already deteriorating infrastructure in other parts of the island to deteriorate so bad, it has now gone up to 55% of the water that we're losing. And that is to show you how mismanaged it is. When we came in, Wasco's books were not audited. Wasco had a lot of years of unaudited books,
financial statements.
Right? We were able now to brought it up. And I was even surprised when in my report that Wasco under us made a profit every single year. So much so that the bank had the confidence, Bank of St. Lucia, to lend Wasco $7 million to build a admin building in the south to improve services.
They did
so
that
this
all
was
on their
all
own.
Part of improving the services of Wasco, making sure that the services of Wasco was more accessible to the people of St. Lucia, wherever you lived. You didn't have to come all the way to Wasco at Lance Road in Castries to deal with a particular problem. But quite notably, Andre, and one of the things that persists over the last few months is the fact that members of the public are allowed with complaints about the fact that when they call Wasco to report leaking pipes, the manner and the time that Wasco takes to respond under this dispensation.
Well, I've heard some stories over the last couple of weeks, Senator Fedee, before we close up that issue. And it's mind-boggling. I mean, I have seen some even in my community. There's been this little pipe. I did not check this morning when I drove, but yesterday when I went down the road. So for 1 week now, there's been a busted pipe along the road going down Grace underneath some concrete, and that water has just been running. and it has not been fixed. But the stories you hear, even yesterday, I heard the story, somebody called on another talk show indicating that there had been a busted pipe somewhere in Grosley, somewhere up north, for almost a year or something like that. And so the people were saying that if Wasco is going to be charging persons, there's this picture that was shown of this one in Babono, everywhere around the country, people will call you and tell you that Wasco is saying there's a water emergency, there's a water crisis, but you have busted pipes in certain areas that has been leaking for weeks and some instances for months, and Wasco has not come to that area to repair those pipes, but yet still they keep complaining that we are losing water and we have a water emergency. So it's a double standard. And people are saying, well, Wasco, yesterday I heard a man say Wasco should charge himself first, because if you want to charge people for wasting water, you can't wash your car, you can't do this, then charge yourself first, because you have all these busted pipes and they're not being repaired. And I don't know what is the issue. But to close off that issue, I also wanted to remind St. Lucia, as you mentioned, the Grosley Highway and the replacement of the pipes. The discussions I recall that were being held between Prime Minister Shasley at the time, the Department of Infrastructure, which was Stevenson King, and also Minister Ezekiel Joseph, that you would recall that every time the road is being repaired, they repair the road and then Wasco now cuts the road, etc., and damages the road. So one of the issues with the leaking pipes as well throughout the country, the suggestion was every piece of road that we are going to repair, let's take the opportunity at the same time to just change the pipe. So if you're going to break down the road, you're going to build drains along that area, let's just change the pipes one time. So if you do it bit by bit, Andre, if every stretch of road, every how many kilometers of road, you change the pipe, within a period of time, you would have been able to change maybe 90 to almost 100% of the pipes. So you can't do all in one day. But if every time you do a piece of road, you change the pipes, and that was the discussions and the vision again of Alan Chasney, thinking outside of the box. Let's not wait to. And so he was saying to them that you need to stock up as much pipe as possible, and that would go in line with the road infrastructure project, so you can change the pipe. So again, these are some of the things and the ways to think outside of the box with reference to the water and the water crisis. But St. Lucia, I want to close that topic by saying to you that today we should not have been going through that water crisis that we are going through if the current Labour administration had not stopped the project of the dredging and the desilting of the John Compton Dam. If they had continued with that project, allow for the desilting to continue to ensure that you would have much more storage, St. Lucie, Jordia, nobody got any problems. But anyway, I think it was important enough, Senator Fedee, for us to speak about water, because St. Lucians all over have been complaining, and we thought it was important for us to at least give our perspective as to what is happening with the water crisis. But today we also want to continue the discussion on the halls of injustice.
Yes.
And Andre, you may ask, what is that? St. Lucia, we are building a halls of injustice in St. Lucia.
So,
and I say that
my first question to you, Nancy, has your very good friend Mr. John Peters called you? Because he did promise you that he would provide you with
I'm still waiting.
A set of information.
I'm still waiting, but there's some corrections that I do have to make, Andre. There's some corrections that I will have to make before we go into the discussion, St. Lucia, because the good thing about Mr. Peters calling, I decided I needed to go back and read. I went back to the government website, and I had to ensure that I, do a little bit of research to make sure, that I was not the one who was, quote unquote, in the wrong. So, St. Lucia, I want you to remember that, let me get it. I just want to get it because, right. You remember I told you that there was a company called Themis, and this Themis Limited, and Themis Limited is the company that the government of St. Lucia had leased the land where the halls of injustice was being built. that they had leased the land to this company, Themis Limited. And I want you to also recall that I said to you, which is why I think Mr. Peters called, because I mentioned his name and he never called to deny it. I want you to realize that, and he cannot deny it, because when we checked with the registrar of companies, one of the directors, there were 3 directors for Themis. Now, the directors are the owners of the company, St. Lucia. So there are 3 owners of the company, Themis Limited. And Mr. John Peters is one of those directors of the company. So I was trying to go through my mind as to why is it that Mr. Peters took so much offense, and he felt that he needed to call the show to defend some of the information, or to try to defend some of the information that I was giving out. And so I went back to the government website, and this is the correction that I need to make, because I have accused or alleged that the government signed a contract with NH. That is not the case, Andre. Do you know that, Minister Fedee? That's not the case? The government did not sign the contract.
The contract is with Themis.
That's right.
But Themis is a subsidiary.
So let's
NH.
go.
It's like if Andre has a smaller radio station in Antigua, and it is on Rev Up Holding Company can own both. So it's a subsidiary.
So I'll explain it.
Yeah.
So, but let me read what is on the Government of St. Lucia website. So St. Lucia, you can go on the Government of St. Lucia website and you can read it for yourself. It says, government remains focused on delivering the halls of justice. And it says the halls of justice will be constructed on the Philip J. Pierre, The government of St. Lucia and Themis Limited signed a build, own, lease transfer agreement for the halls of justice on April 19th, 2024. You heard me, St. Lucia? The government did not sign an agreement with NH. The government of St. Lucia and Themis Limited signed a build, own, lease transfer or a bolt agreement for the halls of justice. So really and truly, Themis, which John Peters is a director of, the government of St. Lucia signed a contract with John Peters' company to build the halls of justice. Now let me tell you the complot that day. Let me show you how they think they are so smart. So Themis is a subsidiary of NH Holding, which is a Trinidadian company. So the mother company is NH Holding, and they created a subsidiary company, Themis Limited, and that it is wholly owned by NH. But John Peters, so that subsidiary company, John Peters is the director of that subsidiary company, and the government of St. Lucia signed the agreement with Themis, which is the subsidiary company, to build the Hall of Justice. So I don't know why they didn't want to go with NH, but they thought they were fooling people. And somebody called me, after the show, Senator Fedee, and said to me that, one thing I can say to you, Miss Charles, is that you can take the man out of Trinidad and Tobago, but you cannot take the Trinidad and Tobago out of the man. And I said to him, but what do you mean? What does that mean? And he says to me, are you aware that Mr. John Peters is a Trinidadian? He's not a St. Lucian by birth. And I was very surprised. And so because I was asking myself, well, what is the connection with John Peters and NH and Themis, etc.? Why, was he involved? But then I now understand that you can take the man out of Trinidad and Tobago, but you cannot take the Trinidad and Tobago out of the man. So all these years he's been in St. Lucia, he still remains true to nature, a Trinidad and Tobago. And he's not going to look out for the interests of St. Lucians. He will look out for the interests of Trinidad and Tobago. So that's number one. And so now I understood why he felt he had to be so defensive, because he was defending his company. And it was John Peters' company who decided that they were going to contract NH to construct the halls of justice. So Themis Limited could have put out to tender to say, so Andre, let's say you're the main contractor, you got the job to build the studio. You can subcontract to somebody else to say, okay, I'll get somebody else to build it and I'll just remain the head, right? Themis got the contract to construct the halls of justice. They signed the agreement with St. Lucia, but they subcontracted to NH Construction to actually build or to construct the building for them. Why didn't Themis put it out to tender to allow for a competent St. Lucian company to build the halls of justice for them? Why? Why did they decide that they will just get NH to come and build the halls of justice? So you see where I'm going? These people are never for the St. Lucian people. Never. You understand? So the opportunity was there for other St. Lucian companies. Perhaps if he had put it out to tender, they would have bid and he would have gotten a St. Lucian company to build it. But they never did that. And so Themis is the one, it says here in the Government of St. Lucia website, that the agreement for the halls of justice, NH International is the contractor. All right, so c'est pas moi qui dis again, Andre. That's why I say I have to give some corrections to the information that I gave last week. This is from the Government of St. Lucia website. It says NH International is the contractor under the Bolt agreement. And here's what Senator Fedee that I want you to clarify for me. Because the Government of St. Lucia continues to insist, okay? And it says, here are some facts about the project. I want you to listen to the terminology, you know. Mm-hmm. It says, here are the facts, FACTS, St. Lucia. Mm-hmm. You know, when I tell you I am bringing you facts, it means that this is the information. The facts on the Government of St. Lucia website. Here are the facts of the Bolt agreement. Do you know what the first fact is on the St. Lucia government website, Andre? The first fact is the total project cost. The total project cost is set at a fixed price of EC $143 million.
Mm-hmm. So EC 143 million.
It says that the total project cost is set at a fixed price of EC $143 million.
So why is NH saying?
Why is NH saying in his interview with the Trinidadian Guardian newspaper that the project is $161 million?
So there's a differential of
the government of St. Lucia must come out and clarify that, Andre. And that is why we've been saying, we've been saying that the information before this, you know when this was posted, Andre? I can give you the date. The article was posted on the Government of St. Lucia website 4 days ago. Okay? The agreement was signed on the 19th of April. The Government of St. Lucia posted nothing on its website. But 4 days ago, after I had my show, after we brought to the attention of the St. Lucian public the article in the Trinidadian Guardian newspaper with the interview with Mr. Emil Elias with reference to the project, right? It's there. Mm-hmm. After I had it, and it's $165 million, not 161. This is what Mr. Emil said. He said that the cost of the project is $165 million.
Well, maybe, John, if you're listening, maybe you should call us and clarify.
We need to clarify
where
that.
Did this differential come from? Because your business partner in Trinidad is saying that it's 165 million and the government is saying it's 143
million
so
on their website.
If we are confused about which one is the real figure, you really need to call and give us some clarity. So we hope that you're listening, John, so that we can get some clarity.
And the
other question I had was, and I want to read again that same, because the Voice extracted that.
Okay.
And it says that the government states that the terms of the Bolt agreement with Themis Limited are highly favorable.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the interest rate? What is the rate of interest that's built into this cost?
Well, according to the interview by Mr. Elias,
yes,
he said that the interest rate was still being negotiated because the project is being financed by, and again, Republic Bank and a company that Mr. Emil owns.
That's correct. Will be part of the syndicate of finance.
That's correct.
So if you look at NH is actually going to make 3 different profits.
That's correct.
It's going to make money on renting the building.
Yes.
It's going to make money on building the building.
That's right.
And it's going to make money on financing
the building.
So I can't blame NH for this.
Nope.
But what I can say to Philip J. Pierre and the rest of his cabinet, that all of them should be fired for signing such a horrible deal and for exposing the taxpayers of the country like this. This is the worst deal that I can ever think of in the history of deal signing in St. Lucia. The administration has really set up the people of St. Lucia.
Let me correct you, sir. Let me ask you a question. Do you actually think that this deal is worse than GPH, which I don't really want to go there right now? But do you think this is worse than GPH making over $300 million over a 40-year period for $40 million? We'll go back to that. But let's continue.
No, you see, the race is very close. I think if it was a 100-meter dash, it would be seconds, or a fraction of a second
All right.
between them. But Nancy, we need to know what is the term, how much interest is being passed on to the people. Is it 4%? Is it 5%? Is it 10%? Is it 15%? We don't know. And I asked this question because Mr. Emil has some different numbers, and it would maybe the interest rate may help us to clarify. And rather than us, the opposition, having to guess what the rental costs per square foot will be, then maybe the government should come out and tell us what it is. So if, for example, because I heard the former minister, not the former minister, the housing minister, who is the voice of everything in this administration, it looks like all of the other ministers have lost their voices. He goes on his talk show every Thursday and rants about a whole host of garbage. But rather than us coming up with the price, having to now do some numbers crunching, please tell us what is the rent per square foot, and tell us what is the interest that is being passed on to the taxpayers of this money. So when Philip J. Pierre says that the people of St. Lucia are not going to have to pay a dime, this is absolutely false. When we get to the rental of the building, when it starts to operate this building, Andre, we are going to be subjected to rent at a certain square footage. Now, I went to Orange Grove Mall last night, Nancy.
Oh, you did?
I did. I went to buy chicken breast because we were grilling some chicken at home. And I every time I walk into the Orange Grove Mall, I say, wow.
Amazing.
Wow.
Amazing.
Andre, the ground floor is already sold out. So you've got a supermarket, you've got an optical place, you've got a variety store, you've got a pharmacy. Everyone has seen the opportunity in the private sector. But the 2 floors owned by the government, the lights were on.
That's belong. Oh, hold on. Yeah? I want you to stop there.
Belong to the government.
The 2 floors, they are already paid for, and so they belong to the government of St. Lucia.
Yes.
All the government of St. Lucia needs to do is to go in and occupy those 2 floors.
Correct.
And the rent rate is $4 a square foot.
Which is
more than half of what government, less than half of what government is currently paying everywhere else.
Correct.
And tell me, it's like a ghost town up there?
Ghost town. But you know why they're not going, Andre?
Politics, Andre.
You want to take a guess why they're not going? They're ashamed.
Embarrassed.
They're embarrassed. Because they had so much to say about the Orange Grove Mall. I mean, St. Lucians will know it as the Daha Mall. At Borderwash. And I was even convinced. I have to repeat the story I tell my friends all the time. In 2011, I was duped into believing by the Labour Party. Because on that election, they said that building was structurally compromised.
Yep.
Remember those engineers? And a friend of mine was reminding
May
me.
I ask, was John Peter one of those engineers by any chance?
I can't remember.
Okay.
I don't want
Just
to.
checking.
I don't
I'm
want
just
to
checking.
lie on John.
Okay.
But I think the late Tom Walcott might have been one of those
Okay.
engineers who said that it was structurally unsound. And
So that
the
wasn't true?
nation,
That wasn't true?
but it can't be true. Look at the
But
building.
Andrea, look, the building is there. The building, I mean, what they did to the building was more or less maybe fix some of the things and remove the barricades, etc. But nothing was
That's the
broken
same
down.
building.
Nothing was broken down and rebuilt, you know, in terms of a structurally
Just
unsound
complete the
building,
building.
meaning you have to break it down and rebuild it. It was not broken down and rebuilt.
So from 2011, yeah.
You surprised?
I'm surprised.
Yeah.
But Andre,
And I
you
think-
said it yourself earlier. Sorry, Senator Fedee. You said it earlier that when people are in opposition, they say any and everything. They make all kinds of accusations and allegations, lies and propaganda to get people to believe them, only so that they can win election. And now they're in office. And like Senator Fedee say, out of pure embarrassment. The 2 floors belong to you, the government of St. Lucia. You need to go and occupy all the rent you're paying in town for $10 and $8 and $7 a square foot in town.
Go
You
pay
need
$4
to
and
go
$7.
and occupy the building up there at $4 a square foot.
Andre,
It belongs to you.
They occupy mole-infested buildings in a lot of areas in St. Lucia. We saw what happened to our passport office. Remember that?
Yes.
Where it was disrupted. They prefer to have the people of St. Lucia to go through and endure those kinds of inconveniences, to struggle and line up on the streets of Castries because they're only opening the office for a short period of time
But
because of bad air quality.
Have you been to
Right?
the passport
And-
office, Senator Fedee, the new one?
No, I haven't.
I went to the new passport office. I mean, just a little digression. St. Lucia, I couldn't believe it. So you know where is it? Western Coal Express used to be opposite where they make the sandwich place in that little aisleway there. I don't know the names of the streets in Castries. I'm not from
I
Castries.
mean Subway, where Subway
Yeah, where
is.
Subway
Yes,
is,
yes.
just that building opposite in that little aisleway there. I think there used to be a Western Coal Express in the ground floor.
Yes.
And so it is on the 3rd floor. The passport office is on the 3rd floor of that building.
That's behind Scotiabank building.
That's correct.
That's Kadeh Street.
Kadeh Street. There's no elevator there, Andre. The stairs are so narrow. I think I am a healthy young lady. And when I got to the 2nd floor, I had to stop to catch my breath and then to climb to the 3rd floor of the passport office. And I said, Lord, I got there. You know me? I had to let it out. I said, let me tell you something. You mean, I know it's not their fault. They're not the minister in charge. But you mean to tell me Virginia Albert Poyot, as the minister responsible for that department, do not realize that you cannot put the passport office in a building 3 floors high, no elevator. So people who are on crutches, how you get there? People who are on wheelchair, how do you get there? The elderly people, I tell you, I had to catch my breath on the 2nd floor. The elderly, how do you get there? And you don't take these things into consideration. You move them from a mole-infested place to bring them to a place where they can't even reach in the first place. This is crazy. Crazy. I'm sorry I digress, but go ahead.
And you have this beautiful building sitting at Orange Grove Mall. I mean, this is an injustice. And we began talking about the halls of injustice.
But you know,
Yes.
you
This is
remember
a
remember
grave
how
injustice.
long that building took before it was actually bought by anyone.
Right, so it was in receivership.
And I was under the impression that because no
sound person would buy it.
Would buy that building.
Have you been
So-
there, Andre?
No,
So Andre-
I'm still afraid to go there.
You should take a walk, Andre. Go.
I'm still
You
afraid
see-
to go.
you see
Because
how the mind works?
Yes, that's what I thought.
Yes.
And that's the Labour
Unfortunate.
Party for you. Their propaganda machine is so. Andrea is like we were talking about the budget, and they made St. Lucians believe that Alan Shastney was borrowing so much money. Andre, in the COVID years, Alan Shastney, maximum in a calendar year, borrowed 356 million. You know how much we borrowed last year with no COVID, with no financial crisis?
And with what growth percentage were they
And
projecting
with
last year?
2.2% growth, $388 million we've increased the debt by in
In
this
1
country.
year.
So that's more than Alan Chastney's biggest year of borrowing. And these guys had adverts, Maddie Prete, every Tuesday telling people he's borrowing, he's spending, Alan is a big spender, blah, blah, blah. And so they're always very good in opposition. They're always good in mounting propaganda campaign. But when they win an election and you put them to govern, the Labour Party's history is very poor in managing this country. And that's what we see right now that is taking place, Andre. Put them to manage Vasco, right? Can't do it. Put them to manage agriculture. Can't do it. Put them to manage the road infrastructure and the upgrading of our facilities. Can't do it. Put them just to manage simple passport processing and application. They made a mess. Put them to manage and deal with an inflation crisis. It resulted in higher food and higher prices to the people in the country. So what we have seen is a total mismanagement of the institutions, of the economy, of the social and infrastructure fabric of this country by the Labour Party administration, Andre, and there's so much evidence of it. I can tell you, Andre, Nancy knows, we get so much blows from our supporters, you know, because you know what they tell us? You're not hitting the issues enough. There's a gentleman from Chazelle who know himself, and I'm thinking about him, who is very lethal on the leadership of this party, saying that the Labour Party is doing such a bad job that the UWP, right, needs to step up its communication to deal with all of these issues. And Nancy is right. As soon as you deal with water,
another one comes up.
You deal with crime, look
Another
at the crime situation.
Boy.
You would swear that things are so normal in St. Lucia. I met a colleague in tourism from Grenada, and they have 8 murders for the year, right? And they're calling for the neck of the police commissioner. And they give the police commissioner 30 days to fix that problem. That's Grenada. And they said that if you don't fix it in 30 days, we are coming for your head. The people of Grenada are not accepting 8 murders for the year. And where are we now?
St. Lucia. We're probably 30-something.
So, Andre,
oh boy,
we are in a lot of mess. I mean, the evidence is there to show. We're not making this stuff up. We're not trying to, look at the Minister of Sports. They ask him a simple question. Who is the contractor on the buses you could go? You saw that, Andre?
You saw that interview?
He said, I would not rather say. Do you believe that you could be presiding over taxpayers' money?
$80 million,
and you're going to tell the public that you rather not say? This is not your private business. This is our money.
And
this is the people's money.
Where is the outrage from St. Lucians?
He still hasn't said?
He hasn't.
No.
He hasn't.
And my information is that the same person doing the upgrading on the Bosses U Stadium, who's the main contractor, is the one doing the Grosley playing field, is the one doing the
Mendofili Park?
No, not the Mendofili Park, but the Grosley Beach Park. Right. When you cross the bridge going into Pigeon Island. And so we have to ask,
so
what is this relationship
individual
between
is doing all these projects?
All of these projects? And the minister must come out and clarify. And we grew up together. He's my good friend. And I knew that he always wanted to be in politics. But, I mean, I'm very proud that he's in government. But he needs to come and be transparent with
But he needs to be different, Dom. He needs to be
you're
different.
A young man.
You're young into this thing. Be different than
Set an example
your
for
colleagues.
Young people. You can't tell me that it is okay for you to keep all of this under the rug. No. And had I been the minister, I would have felt a certain sense of obligation to let the people of St. Lucia know what those deals are. It's like Ernest Hiller, who I have no time for. Absolute disaster to have happened to this country. You mean to tell me you're going to tell the people of St. Lucia, you're going to put their visa-free access at risk? And I'm mostly concerned about people traveling to Martinique, right? A lot of people go there. A lot of my constituents, Andre, go on the boat, because it's a cheaper mode of traveling abroad to get good health care. And they're able to go there because we have and we enjoy for a long time visa-free access to that European jurisdiction in Martinique. And if you don't manage the developments within the CIP industry well, and if you're not transparent, then what you do is that you create, Andre, a situation in the country where the very healthcare needs of a lot of our people in St. Lucia, from everywhere, from Vieux-Fort, from everywhere in St. Lucia. You put that, you undermine that. And so you put that at risk for what? 2 contractors that you don't want to tell us who they are? I mean, how could you do that? Who are these people you have contractual obligations with? How can the Prime Minister and the Minister for CIP not feel that they need to tell us who these individuals are,
who are putting our,
who they are putting all of us at risk for? Are these people worth it?
But let me ask you a question.
What is
Senator
the nature
Fedee
of these deals? How come you haven't announced to the public what is the nature of the infrastructure deals of the country? Because the infrastructure component of CIP is quite a new one. And so if it is you're then going to put a new application conduit or process, why is it you don't feel you need to level with the citizens of the country?
Nobody knows about. Let me ask you a question with reference, as you spoke about CIP and the contractual agreement. As a former minister of government, let's suppose that, as the Prime Minister indicated, that you had a contractual agreement with X company for the $100,000. And because your agreement would be, it wouldn't be, let's say, without end. It would be a contractual agreement for 20 passports, 100 passports, 30 passports, whatever, I would assume. Again, we've seen those deals that they give in, so I don't know. But let's assume you had an agreement, the government of St. Lucia had an agreement with this particular person for X number of passports, and maybe for, I don't know if there is a period of time, maybe it's by passports. Is there anything preventing the government of St. Lucia currently from signing the current agreement at the $200,000, but because you had a previous agreement with this contractor, that your previous agreement would still stand, so it wouldn't affect it? So if you had an agreement with them for 100 passports, if they have not reached that quota, your agreement with them still stand, but in moving forward, all newcomers would now have to do the 200,000. Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't that how it works out? And if that is the case, then explain to me, why is the Prime Minister using the excuse that he has a contractual obligation and that's why he cannot sign? Because to my mind, if you have signed an agreement with somebody prior, the date that you signed the agreement is everything after that date. Am I correct, or am I wrong?
You absolutely are correct. But the government has no excuse for getting itself into this situation.
In the first place.
In the first place.
Okay.
Because if you speak to the former Prime Minister, Alan Chasney, who had the ministerial portfolio for CIP, he will tell you that it is no secret to all of us that the European Union, the United States, in fact, there are congressmen in the United States that have actually formulated legislation to deal with countries that have these CIP programs, to have sanctions against them as it relates to visa access, and made it more difficult for their citizens. On the part of the European Union, they have been working with our countries for many, many, many years. The UK withdrawal of the Dominica visa-free access, that didn't just happen yesterday.
Of course, there was a lot of notice, a lot
of discussion with all of the countries.
Agreed.
So in coming into, I mean, you remember, don't forget that in CIP debates, the former Prime Minister Kenny Anthony said he always had his reservations about CIP.
Yeah, but he was the one he instituted it.
he did institute it. And I remember giving him some flack for saying, look, you can't eat your cake and have it same way.
Believe this.
I mean, Ralph Gonzalez in St. Vincent was really clear to say he's not doing it. And he has no problems with the other islands who want to go ahead and do it. But Kenny Anthony, it is instructive, he said, I've always had my reservations about the CIP program.
And he was the one who instituted it.
He's the one who instituted it in 2015.
Just for your information.
But however, he said upon private reflection, he's had his reservations always about it. And we now need to question. And that was while the Labour Party was in opposition. He was saying this. So Philip J. Pear, Ernest Hilaire, you're telling me that they didn't know what Kenny Anthony's reservations were while they were in opposition? And now they are in government for 3 years, and you coming and tell us that you had to sign an agreement? No. And you have to ask yourself, Andre, And I'm going to go much further and ask yourself, what are the side deals related to their firmness, their
resolution to
their
stand by
fixation
that.
to stand by this,
Yes.
and allow the nation to go through
And to suffer.
such a difficult ordeal by allowing people who need to go to Martinique. I'm mostly concerned about that, because I have so many of my former constituents who go to Martinique for medical treatment. And Andre, you know, there's no secret. People call your shows all the time asking for donations. You see people outside the supermarket, they need to get to Martinique. A family member of mine had just gone to Martinique to deal with her knees. And so it's real, it's personal to all of us. All of us can relate to someone who needs to go.
Yep.
And you are going to tell me that because you want to build schools and roads like Dominica.
All of a sudden, 3 years.
Yeah,
but
we
we'll
build
open
this
the
whole
lines.
country without CIP.
Let's open the lines.
Okay.
Andre, can you give the numbers?
Sure.
So we can open the lines and we can take some calls. We have almost 20 minutes of calls.
Okay.
Let's see if we can.
The fixed line is 572-9710. Fixed line 572-9710. Or the WhatsApp platform, it is 287-0971. WhatsApp is 287-0971. Again,
Okay.
the fixed line 572-9710. WhatsApp 287-0971.
Okay, St. Lucia, the lines are open.
Yes.
You can now
And you have a
call
call.
us
You have a
and
call.
give us your thoughts on what we've spoken about this morning. Good morning. Thank you so much for calling Meet the Opposition.
Good morning, Sister Nancy and Brother Dominic Fedee. Good program, very informative. Andrew, good morning.
Morning.
Good
to
morning.
you,
Good
sir.
morning, caller.
I want to speak on the SI, the statutory instrument that the Labour Party government passed. They gazetted, and once it's gazetted, it becomes law. You're telling me
Which
that
one is that?
Is that for the water crisis?
Yes,
Okay.
the statutory instrument, the SI that they gazetted recently,
Mm-hmm.
saying that if they catch persons wasting, so-called waste washing their vehicle, watering their plants, etc., that they will either imprison you for 6 months or fine you $3,000. I don't know if you guys are aware of that.
I've seen it.
So I have a question, caller. Is there a condition in the SI for imprisoning people for the mismanagement of our water resources?
No.
I'm well,
And the
well,
question
hence the
is-
injustice.
Exactly. But the real question, Nancy, Brother Nancy, Sister Nancy and Brother Dominic and Andrew, how are you going to police that? So you're telling me you pass an SI, there was no thought process in this. So you're going to go to get police officers to walk out to patrol every single house in Senator to see or to so-called scrutinize who wasting water. Does that make sense to you?
Well, I don't know who's going to police it, caller, but the SI is there. I suppose maybe as the police officers make their rounds, which maybe they have sufficient vehicles now. I heard the government is giving vehicles, is giving water skis, is giving so the police will catch you anywhere, because you can be out close to the water and they'll be on the water skis and they'll catch
Listen
you.
to me.
You can I don't know. So
this statutory instrument, this SI, is comical.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't make any sense. But I want Senator to pay close attention to what's happening. The problem with WASCO is that the Labour Party dump all the political hacks in WASCO. They give them hefty positions, hefty salaries, and I can guarantee you, Sister Nancy and Brother Dominic and Andrew, we have to demand that we want to see the audits, the financial audits of WASCO, because I can guarantee St. Lucians, even if I'm not privy to the financial statements, that WASCO is in a total mess financially. Hence the reason why WASCO's problem is once the Labour Party is in office, to reward the political hacks, they just dump them at WASCO. I know of persons who are not competent, but they support the Labour Party at WASCO and they give them big positions. You're telling me a company like WASCO cannot be self-sufficient enough to generate revenue? That when they have little burst pipes in little communities, they don't have the resources to fix those burst pipes? The infrastructure of WASCO under the Labour Party is archaic. It's not good. The pipes are corroding. Wasco problem, Andrew, brother Andrew, and sister Nancy and brother Dominic, is management. The people who manage in Wasco right now have no clue in terms of managing that company, a statutory a board like Wasco, or managing water resource. They just put there as political appointees to reward them for political gain. That's all it is. But meanwhile, they pass a law to penalize St. Lucians for the incompetence. I want St. Lucians to pay close attention to that. That the Labour Party government has passed this, made it law that if you water in your own private vehicle and they catch you, that they can imprison you for 6 months or fine you for $3,000. Is that the government that puts people first? No. So I leave it right there. I don't know if you guys want to expound on what I just said there, but I want St. Lucians to be aware that the law has passed, it was gazetted, and just be careful. Have a great day, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, I did see a copy of the SI. So I think one of the things that was concerning to me when I saw the prohibitions, I just wanted to read it out whilst we wait for another caller. When we have another caller, let me know. It says abstraction of raw water upstream of the Water and Sewage Company Inc. infrastructure. Now, abstraction of water for farmers, for example, I noticed that they did not really put a prohibition on farmers, but abstraction of water upstream of the Water and Sewage Company infrastructure. We still have, let's say, I'm talking about my community. I don't know if Senator Fedee can speak to the Millet community and some of this, but you still have farmers who are upstream of where the water containment is. And so certain farmers still put their pumps in the river so that they can water their farms, etc. And so when you say that you farmers who are upstream of the water catchment area, if I put my pump in that, because my farm, I have 2 farms, and one of the farms I have is a little bit upstream from that catchment area. If I put my pump in the river to pump water to water my farm, would I be breaching that act and that law in terms of trying to abstract water for my farm? So these are some of the clarifications that we need with reference to such a law being passed. But of course, again, I do want to say to St. Lucians, because I want us to be law-abiding citizens, I am not going to say to St. Lucians, do not abide by the SI, because it is a law. There are prohibitions, because the water crisis is real, you know. It is real. All we are saying is that it should not have been because of the mismanagement of what is happening at Wasco, the mismanagement of the resources. But the water crisis is real. And so I am saying to St. Lucians, since the law has been passed, try to observe it, try to conserve water, try not to, do what you have to do, but obey the law. That's the best that I can say. We have another call.
Good morning.
Good morning, caller. Thank you for calling Mid the Opposition.
Good morning, Mr. Paul. Good morning, Nancy. And good morning, Mr. Fedee.
Good morning,
Morning, sir.
You are good, Paul? Okay.
I'm good.
Now, we talked about water, and I know that I've been dominating the airwaves over the past, in fact, ever since the drought season started, when it reached at the peak of the drought. Now, I'm living in a community, and Nancy, you probably know by now, that we never used to have water shortage. Now I know I can say, well, that is the case probably because of the drought, but what baffles me is that there is a tank, the huge water tank, and there's a little area by Blanchard area. Now that was supposed to be sustained, in fact the entire constituency should, in case there is a drought, so at least Wasco can
Blanchard in Micoud South.
In Micoud, yes.
Yeah, we did not even mention your water project in the whole discussion.
Now what happened? That tank is empty. Now I thought Wasco would have at least have that tank full, and then I know the pressure, the volume of the water at the river is very low, so that by the time the catchment is built up, so at least you can ration the water, give us some in the tank. But the tank is empty, so I am asking.
So you can't ration, you can't get nothing because the tank is empty.
Precisely. So yes, I went by myself. I like to do research. I don't like to, they say. And the tank is empty. Can you imagine? So I am asking the question, what is the purpose of that tank? What is the purpose? Now, before they tell you the farmers used to cultivate in water along the river banks and blah, 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 they would cut trees and that would not prevent in water, the catchment to be full and thereabout. But now there is no banana farmer.
There's hardly any farmers, just a few farmers you get along the water.
Very few. So we're supposed to have more water in the river by now, at least we can get water when we need. And Nancy, you're right, I had to go to Fort North and collect water this week.
You had to go in Pierrot?
No, I went to Bellevue. Proper Bellevue, a place called Jackastown. I don't know if that's the real name.
Oh, all the way. The name of the community is Viva Sail.
But that's only one time they used to use that anyway. So there's 2 standpipes along that area. From the time I know, they never be closed. So I think the people are doing a pretty good job. They're not damaging it. So
but you have to be careful. Let me see the SI. The SI says that if you extract how much gallons of water from standpipe, you are contravening the law as well. Look. For taking more than 100 gallons of water per household per day from public standpipes. Are you sure you did not take more than 100 gallons of water?
Once you take 3 barrels, you bring the law.
Let me just be clear on a national. I went there with 4 buckets.
Okay. All right. But be careful. It says you cannot take more than 100 gallons of water per household per day. So be careful.
So I praise that community. Now, I don't praise the community per se. I blame the former administration for that vision in that the water system upgraded in Grace. I don't think Bellevue is getting water from Grace. Maybe if I
am not sure, I think Bellevue is getting from their own area. I don't think Bellevue is part of the Grace system. The Grace system would go down Beauséjour, Morne Beauséjour. I think it goes through Larichou's Vieux-Fort and as far as the Labrie, Auger Labrie area.
Okay, well, briefly, my last comment briefly, enough with water. I mean, I don't know when we're going to get out of that. There is a saying before, Nancy. It is called St. Lucia, Trinidad and Tobago.
Yep.
There was this former Creole announcer, and he was right. People used to take that for a joke. Now I see the truth and the reality of that. So with this contractual agreement, everything you can think of in terms of plumbing, PVC, electrician, welder, mechanic, just name it, masons coming from, they have to be done by Trinidadian. So we have a bunch of deck here. So they don't
and Mr. Peters was trying to say that it was in context to what the gentleman was saying. But there was no context to what the gentleman was saying. And St. Lucia, I can guarantee you what you just said there, caller, that these people will come because you know why? The Minister of Labor, who's part of this government, will sign the work permits for them to come and work in St. Lucia. And the law is very clear when it comes to certain work permits that you have to ensure that you do not have locals with the same capacity to fill in that space before you give a work permit. But do you think they will do that? Because they haven't done that for the St. Jude's people, The Indian people call us, who are working at St. Jude's, Setikuliakila, St. Jude's la. All of them, they've given them work permits to come and do labor. Basic labor work, that's what they're doing at St. Jude's. And we have people in St. Lucia who are unemployed who can do that same job. But yet still, Virginia Albert Poyet, as the Minister for Labor, has signed work permits for these people.
Briefly, before I let me just close this somebody, but let me just say that quickly. I will hold, and I'm not just me, I only hope, because the United Workers' Party, once and for all, will get back into government. Because I don't see any good thinking and right thinking St. Lucian right now that have been punished and pinned down in a corner and cannot take a deep breath under the administration will go into vote this government back in office. And if this government have pride and shame, they will not even think or even put a candidate for another election. because look at the amount of things that have been done without any proper explanation to a taxpayer. You talk about GPH, none of your business. You talk about this Trinidadian company, no, it's secret. Then you talk about St. Jude with $201 million from the Saudis. It's not your business. But the question was posed to the Prime Minister, sir, currently, do you have a contractor working at a facility? He said no. And he said when that time comes, he will tell. And presently, I can tell you, there is a contractor working at the facility.
But I am aware of that. We know.
Why would you want to hide the people of St. Lucia that are going to bear the burden, the brunt of that debt? You want to keep it secret to them? You cannot. So when the United Workers' Party will get back in government, I hope, because they talk about special prosecutor and all this crap, and which they know if special prosecutor is independent, a lot of them will go down with them. So I only hope you guys would take ample time and do proper analysis and investigation, and to make sure somebody pay for this type of deal. And I can call it deal because this is a deal. Don't deal how it is, and we don't know the dime of nothing that is happening. And all we have to know is that we have to pay for the mischief and reckless, incompetent people that are so-called ministers that are just there to put debt on this country, and let we pay for the nonsense and unaccepted behavior.
Thank you, caller. We want to take another call before we time is
Thank
running
you
out.
for
Let's
your
try
call.
and take
Thank
one
you
more
for
caller
those
before
comments.
we wrap up. We have one more call?
No, that's it.
Oh, okay. But Andre, I mean, maybe we can wrap up because it's 10:58.
It's almost time.
I mean, this morning when I was driving up St. Lucia, I have to say to you, every time I see things like that, it irks me. Because this morning, as I was driving up, I saw the black pickup that comes from Viewfort every day, Andre, and I see that with my eyes. That's not stories I'm telling you. A black pickup, a company pickup with some Indian people of Indian descent. They are not St. Lucians. They are living, they are renting some apartments, some places in the town of Viewfort, and they are driving them and bring them to St. Jude's Hospital every single day. And these are not specialized workers, Andre. These people do plastering on the wall. They do manual labor. You know, the basic work that you have St. Lucians who can do. And every time I see that, I get upset. Because I'm saying you have so many young men in Viewfort, Senator Fedee, so many young men in Grace, so many young men in Bellevue and in Micoud and Deriso and Labrie and Sozel who are looking for work. They want to help feed their family. They cannot get work, and yet still we are giving work permits to these Indian people to come to St. Lucia to take bread from the mouths of the St. Lucian men who can't feed their family. That cannot be right, Andre. It cannot be. If these people are specialized workers and we do not have that type of specialized workers in St. Lucia, I agree, let them come in and do the work. But you must ensure that your people can work. And that is why the Prime Minister refused to tell us who's the contractor at St. Jude's, because these are the things that he thinks is happening behind closed doors and people don't see. We see. We from the South, we see it every day. But anyway, St. Lucia, like we say, this country is in crisis. Every single week is one after the other, one bad deal after the other. Our money is going away. Our country is going away. Politicians tell us it's none of our business. They cannot tell us who the contractor is. They get $80 million, no accountability. We will not be silent as an opposition. We will come, we will bring out the facts and the information. Senator Fedee, your closing remarks.
I want to thank you, thank Andre, thanks to the callers. It really, you know, when I come and I do these shows and I reflect on the magnitude of the problems that we face in this country, I go home with a headache. And I know that the people of St. Lucia feel the very same way. Every time you go to the supermarket and you look at the price of bread, every time you go to the gas station and you look at the price of gas and LPG cooking gas, and now on top of that, you know, they've given you a water crisis. They continue to mismanage important areas such as crime, such as cost of living. St. Lucia, the answer is really, the solution is very simple. So I want to thank you, Nancy, for what you've been doing in educating the country on the range of issues. Continue to do the great job. And Andre, thank you for the forum.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much, St. Lucia. Let me end by saying I think last week I forgot to mention we had a family fun day, but I do want to say thank you very much. Senator Fedee, did you run? I didn't see you run.
I haven't been training,
we'll
so
leave that there.
I'm wise enough to know which battles to pick.
We had a family fun day on Sunday. It was part of our 60th anniversary activities, and it was really fun to watch some of the former parliamentarians run. to do the tug of war, the various races, sack race, and the children had tons of fun. Thank you very much to St. Lucians and supporters who turned out. It was a really, really wonderful day.
And don't forget the church service.
And we had the church service before that, and we want to thank those of you who came. I was very, very pleased to see that Lady Janice came. I don't know what that means, but at least she came in honor of the 60th anniversary of the party that her husband was instrumental in building. So the United Workers' Party is about building bridges, and let's mend our fences in the interest of this country. So thank you so much, St. Lucia. I hope this weekend you're going to play it safe. I hope I've given you sufficient food for thought as you go over the weekend. And remember, I said to obey the law. There's a water crisis. There's an SI that has been passed. No, please obey the law so that you will not find yourself in trouble. Nancy Charles says so. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Be safe, and we'll see you again next week.
And I want to commend you for saying so.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. It's encouraging St. Lucians to obey the law.
We
That's
are
right.
a responsible opposition.
Yes,
you know,
yes.
Haven't you recognized yet?
Yes. Okay, thank you very much, Nancy and Dominic Fedee. The Media Opposition is heard on Rev Up St. Lucia Thursdays from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. So join us next week, Thursday, same time, same station, for another Meet the Opposition. Well, this ends my shift here. We have Tony Paul coming on next. He'll be with you until 3 this afternoon. From 3, it's going to be Send the DJ. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday. Andre Paul saying so long.
Unit 4, Gablewoods Mall, Sunny Acres, Gas Street, St. Lucia. Tune in to us at 97.1 FM and online at revupslu.com. Call the studio at 572-9710 or WhatsApp 287